Ever find yourself humming a tune that instantly takes you back, but when you try to remember the artist's name, it's like they vanished into thin air? 1977 wasn't just the year of disco balls and blockbuster movies. It was a time when soft rock serenades, quirky pop gems, and unexpected anthems filled the airwaves. Songs that once ruled radios, jukeboxes, and roller rinks, only to slip quietly into the shadows just as fast as they arrived. Today on Americast, we're revisiting 10 unforgettable one-hit wonders from 1977, plus possibly a couple of bonus tracks. So stay tuned. Telephone Man, Mary Wilson.
To my apartment on a Monday at 1, singing do lolly lolly shaky bum shaky bum.
In 1977, novelty songs had a special way of sneaking onto the charts, and none did it quite like Mary Wilson's Telephone Man. Armed with a suggestive wink and a soft southern lilt, Wilson spun a playful story about a woman getting more than just her phone installed. Legend has it that Telephone Man was recorded in a rush after a Nashville producer overheard Wilson casually singing it at a party.
Lolly lolly, hey lolly lolly, hey lolly lolly, just doing my thing.
Sensing a hit, they rushed her into the studio, and the result was an overnight sensation. But behind the humor and cheeky double entendres, Wilson found herself typecast almost immediately. Every follow-up song she attempted, from Rub-a-Dub-Dub to Peter the Meter Reader, leaned heavily into novelty, and none captured the same magic. Jeans On, David Dundas. In an era packed with soaring ballads and disco grooves, sometimes all it took was a simple jingle to climb the charts.
I pull my blue jeans on, I pull my old blue jeans on.
David Dundas, a British actor and musician, originally wrote Jeans On, not for radio, but as a catchy tune for a Brutus jeans commercial. But the song's breezy, feel-good vibe proved too irresistible to stay stuck in the world of advertising. After reworking it slightly for a wider audience, Dundas released it, and before long, Jeans On became a surprise international hit, cracking the top 20 in the US and lighting up the charts across Europe.
I wake up in the morning light, I pull on my jeans and I feel alright.
Despite his fresh-faced success, Dundas never managed to repeat the magic. Rumor has it that his heart remained more in television and composing jingles than chasing pop stardom. Today, Jeans On still pops up in commercials and movies. Float On, the Floaters. In the summer of 1977, nobody sounded cooler than the Floaters. Their silky harmonies and unforgettable Zodiac-themed introductions, Float On wasn't just a song, it was an experience.
Aquarius, Libra, Leo, Cancer.
Built around a slow groove and whispered promises of love based on star signs, the track felt like it came straight out of a dream. It shot all the way to number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100, becoming an instant slow dance favorite at proms and roller rinks across America. But behind the cosmic cool, the Floaters struggled with what came next. Follow-up singles tried to recapture the magic, but never connected the same way. Rumor has it that tensions between group members and management about creative control further splintered their momentum. Though they continued performing for years, Float On remained their shining, singular moment. Right before my eyes, Patty Brooks. In the heyday of disco, it seemed like anyone with the right groove and a bit of luck could find themselves under the spinning lights, even if only for a moment. Patty Brooks, a club favorite with a rich, soaring voice, captured that moment with Right Before My Eyes.
There's a spark and my heart knows exactly what it means.
A track that combined lush strings, a driving beat, and just the right touch of dance floor magic. Released under Casablanca Records, the same label behind disco giants like Donna Summer, Brooks seemed poised for a breakout. But behind the scenes, whispers suggested she got lost in the label's crowded roster, where bigger names soaked up most of the promotional firepower. Despite a few minor hits in the club circuit afterward, Brooks never recaptured the national spotlight. Calling occupants of interplanetary craft, Klaatu. Long before Area 51 jokes and sci-fi fandom became mainstream, a mysterious band from Canada sent out a musical signal to the stars.
In your mind, you have capacities, you know.
Klaatu's Calling Occupants of Interplanetary Craft wasn't just a song, it was an open invitation to extraterrestrials, wrapped in lush orchestration and dreamy vocals. Released with almost no publicity about the band itself, rumors immediately exploded. Some fans whispered that Klaatu might actually be a secret reunion of the Beatles, recording under a new name. The mystery fueled the song's popularity, pushing it into the top 40 in both the US and Canada. But as the truth emerged, that Klaatu were simply talented but unknown musicians, public curiosity faded almost as fast as it had risen. Despite their continued work and devoted fan base, Klaatu never matched the impact of their cosmic debut. Undercover Angel, Alan O'Day. In 1977, amidst the frenzy of disco beats and stadium rock, Alan O'Day carved out his strange corner of the charts with Undercover Angel, a dreamy, soft pop fantasy that sounded like a love story and a fairy tale rolled into one.
I said, what? She said, ooh-wee. I said, all right.
O'Day had already made a name behind the scenes as a songwriter, penning hits for Helen Reddy and the Righteous Brothers. But Undercover Angel was his own voice, his own quirky imagination, and it shot to #1 almost overnight. Legend has it the song was written in a single sitting, fueled by a mix of heartbreak and whimsy. Yet despite the track's huge success, O'Day struggled to capture the same lightning again as a solo artist. He returned to the world of songwriting, where he quietly continued shaping other people's hits. Ariel, Dean Friedman. Not every one-hit wonder tells a simple love story. Sometimes it's a whole quirky movie packed into 3 minutes.
Way on the other side of the Hudson, deep in the buzz of the suburbia.
Dean Friedman's Ariel wasn't just a song, it was a slice of suburban New Jersey life, complete with library dates, vegetarianism, and late-night drives across the George Washington Bridge. Released in 1977, Ariel stood out in a sea of slick disco and heavy rock, thanks to its gentle humor, vivid storytelling, and Friedman's offbeat charm.
I said, yeah, I guess I am.
It made a quiet but strong climb up the charts, eventually cracking the top 30. King is Gone, Ronnie McDowell. When Elvis Presley passed away in August 1977, the world was flooded with tributes, but none captured the heartbreak quite like Ronnie McDowell's The King Is Gone.
I was barely 6 years old when I first heard him sing. And somehow I knew.
McDowell, a young and virtually unknown artist at the time, sat down the night of Elvis's death and poured his grief into a single song. Legend has it he recorded it almost immediately, backed by a raw band of studio musicians who could barely believe what they were hearing. Released on a small independent label, The King Is Gone skyrocketed, not just up the country charts, but into pop territory too, as millions looked for a way to mourn the king of rock and roll.
Now the king is gone, and oh, what a rain.
Offers from major labels came fast, but McDowell stayed independent a little longer, hoping to ride the success on his own terms. Though he would later find a steady career in country music, nothing matched the pure, aching lightning of that first tribute, a song born from the heartache of an entire generation. Sad Eyes, Robert John. In an era dominated by bombastic disco beats and swaggering rock anthems, Robert John's Sad Eyes offered something different, a quiet goodbye wrapped in velvet. Released in the late summer of 1979, but gaining its first legs in 1977 through earlier performances, Sad Eyes climbed to #1 with a slow, swaying ballad that stood out precisely because it whispered instead of screamed. Robert John, who had first tasted minor success as a teenager in the 60s, spent years trying to find his second act. Rumor has it that Sad Eyes almost didn't happen. Early studio sessions were so low budget that some executives didn't even bother promoting it at first. But once the song caught on, it became unstoppable. Perfect mirror for the bittersweet endings and heartache that quietly defined the late 70s. Though Robert John continued to record, nothing else came close to matching the tender impact of Sad Eyes, a gentle anthem for lost loves and fading summers. I Like Dreamin', Kenny Nolan. In a year when music often turned loud and electric, Kenny Nolan whispered his way into listeners' hearts with I Like Dreamin'. Already a successful songwriter behind the scenes, crafting hits like Lady Marmalade and My Eyes Adored You, Nolan finally stepped into the spotlight himself. But instead of chasing the latest trends, he doubled down on soft, bittersweet romance, crafting a track that felt more like a slow exhale than a radio grab.
I like dreaming, 'cause dreaming can make you mine.
I Like Dreamin' drifted up to number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100, quietly proving that vulnerability still had a place on the charts. Smoke from a Distant Fire, Sanford Townsend Band. If you only know a few things about the late 70s, you know it was an era obsessed with smooth hair, smooth clothes, and especially smooth songs. And few tracks captured that easygoing swagger better than Smoke from a Distant Fire.
You left me here on your way to paradise.
Sanford Townsend Band, a pair of Alabama musicians with a knack for blending Southern soul and West Coast polish, created a near-perfect radio gem in 1977. Rumor has it the track's slick production and catchy hook were so good that many listeners thought it was a brand new Hall & Oates single. The confusion didn't hurt. Smoke from a Distant Fire raced into the top 10, lighting up the airwaves. But as often happens with lightning strikes, the follow-up efforts never quite matched the spark. Shifting musical tastes and label struggles left the Sanford Townsend Band as a one-song phenomenon. But what a song it was. Even today, that opening groove still feels like slipping into a sun-drenched summer memory you almost forgot you had. From dreamy love songs to cosmic invitations, 1977's one-hit wonders captured a year of shifting dreams, rising hopes, and hidden heartbreaks. Each track lit up the airwaves just long enough to leave a mark, a flicker of brilliance sealed forever in the soundtrack of a generation. Some artists faded quietly, others kept fighting, writing, and singing behind the scenes. But their songs, those few unforgettable minutes, still echo across the decades. Which track stirred up the most memories for you? Drop your favorite in the comments, and if you've rediscovered a gem you'd almost forgotten, hit that like button and subscribe for more hidden treasures from music's lost highways. Because sometimes, the most powerful songs are the ones we almost left behind.